Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Sunday and happy Halloween. I'm so excited to be here this morning. So, this week has been full of amazing downloads and insights and anchoring of light codes and releasing of things that no longer serve us. Excuse me. And this morning, I asked Spirit to lead me to a section in the Bible that will assist in teaching communication. And so I want to read to you where I was drawn to. I'm again reading from Gideon's, and I was brought to James chapter 3. Okay, and so I want to read to you James chapter 3. It's not very long, it's only 18 verses. So it does take a couple minutes, but it's really good, and it's all about communication. And I wanted to share it with you because when I read this, I thought, oh, this is just perfect. This is the epitome of what many of us feel, but maybe possibly don't have the proper verbiage to communicate what it is that we feel about communication or how we want to express that with others. So this ought to give you a little bit of peace. So I hope you guys are doing awesome. And here we go. Again, that's James chapter 3, 1 through 18. All right. It says, "My brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we shall receive a stricter judgment." Speaking of, like, if you're going to be a spiritual teacher, you're going to be judged twice as harshly if you're teaching the improper things. And as spiritual teachers, this really hits home to me. So this could be, this information could be a lesson in communication overall. But that's the first note. It literally says if you are a teacher, you are held twice as accountable. So make sure that you are aware of what it is that you're teaching. Okay? So now I'm going to go on to chapter 3, 2. So that was verse 1. It says, "For we all stumble in many things. If anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man, able also to bridle the whole body." Meaning that if you don't stumble, you can actually master the whole body as well, right? And then it says, "Indeed, we put bits in horses' mouths that they may obey us, and we turn their whole body," controlling them, right? "Look also at a ship, although they are so large and are driven by force winds, they are turned by a very small rudder wherever the pilot desires." More control, too, yes? "Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasts great things. See how great a forest a little fire kindles." Remember that, the tongue. And then it goes on to say, "And a tongue is fire, a world of integrity. The tongue is so set among our members that it defiles the whole body and sets on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire by hell." Okay, I'm going to read just that one verse again, but it's extremely poignant. I love this. The tongue is a fire, the tongue is a fire, a world of integrity. The tongue is so set among our members that it defiles the whole body. So we can't even let our tongue, like, it controls everything about our body, right? You spit something out and you lose control of your body. You get upset, your body starts vibrating and shaking. So again, the tongue is a fire, a world of integrity. The tongue is so set among the members that it defiles the whole body and sets on fire the course of nature. Meaning, whatever you say in fire comes out, and there's an aftermath, right? And it is set on fire by hell. Let's take a second on that. So I am reading from the Bible, and you guys know that I teach spiritually other things as well. So for me, obviously, this is speaking simply about your verbiage, your language, okay? And that whatever you say, there's going to be a cause of an action effect, right? Like the law of attraction after you speak your words, right? Okay, it's number 7 says, "For no man can tame the tongue. It is an unruly evil, for a deadly poison. With it we bless our God and Father, and with it we curse man, who have been made in the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceed blessings and cursings. My brethren, these things ought not to be so." I agree. Does a spring send forth fresh water and bitter from the same opening? No. Can a fig tree, my brethren, bear olives, or a grapevine bear figs? Thus no spring yields both salt water and fresh. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. So you also have to have good works, not just good verbiage. And then it says, "But if you have bitter envy and self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast or lie against the truth. This wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, and demonic. For when envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing there. But the wisdom is from above, is first pure, then peaceful, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Now, the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace." I cannot express that enough. That is absolutely beautiful. So I want to come back just for a second and touch back on this whole tongue part right here, right? So as we see here, again, that's James chapter 3, 1 through 18. It talks about the tongue being the most unruly thing, correct? And we know that when we say things that are harsh, we often are speaking those out of communication with someone that didn't go the way we want it to go. We tried to control it, and it didn't go the way we wanted it to go, just as it talks about putting the bridle in the horse's mouth. So harsh words come from the things not going the way that we wanted them to go, because whether we realize it or not, we have an expectation. First and foremost, you need to release expectation, right? Secondly, when people speak harsh words, it's often because something in the communication has triggered them. Now, the goal and the purpose and the job is for you is to ask yourself, why did that make me speak harshly? Why did that make me uncomfortable? If you can be brave enough and go within yourself and ask yourself some serious truths and be real with yourself. Now, if you feel like you're asking yourself, was I wrong? And you're reacting something like, no, I wasn't wrong. That was completely wrong on their part. That's a very much so a reaction of ego. And ego is not a bad thing. Ego is simply a surfacing of the subconscious repressed feelings that we have. So oftentimes people might lash out also because as a child they didn't feel like they were listened to or heard. And so people sometimes will just interject or cut you off and say, I need to add something here. Or another interesting way I've noticed with communication is maybe, especially in my case, I've had the experience where people will ask me to please stop talking spiritual so much, because it's intense for one, obviously, and not everyone chose this path like I did. So the information that I may carry might be more than they are ready to absorb, and it sounds like that speaker in Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. So people have asked me at times to not talk so much about spirituality. So I often have to reel that in. And then I just had a communication with someone, and they had expressed their uh, feelings on something, and I did understand where they were coming from, and I attempted to express, but the conversation did not go peacefully like I had anticipated. It wasn't a bad one, it was just like the communication got shut down. And I realized quickly what was the trigger. But anyway, thinking of the point of me saying that I've been asked to not talk spiritual so much, in this conversation that I had with someone else, they felt they weren't being heard, and that if I expressed my boundary, that then therefore they were not able to fully be themselves, which I find interesting because most people don't think about what they have previously said. So asking me to not talk spiritual as much is equally asking me not to be myself, as me setting a boundary, and that person felt as though I was prohibiting them from speaking their truth. When it's interesting because the communication got dropped, blocked, but it's about the tongue, right? The verbiage that you use. So you can use your words wisely, and you can, just as the tarot on the two of discs in the Orisa deck, it's two rams butting heads, and there's a bowl of water for cooling. That same heat and intensity, you can use it to ram heads, or you can cool that fire with water, and then you can take that heat and you can forge steel, right? Aha, forge steel, House of Truth. So I just wanted to give you a little bit, in case you were interested in the Bible study today, is James 3, 1 through 18. And that talks everything about our language and controlling the body and the, well, it doesn't mention the mind, but fear and ego and harsh language come from the conditioned mind that's been programmed and has trauma and hasn't healed all those things within it. Because otherwise, if they had healed all the things in that, then the communication then therefore would not become hostile, because they would not take it personally. They would take it as, I need to go inward and check on myself. So as a spiritual teacher, the first thing that it says is, brethren, brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we shall receive a stricter judgment. So, I just want to also add that there. So, if you are a spiritual teacher, you need to realize that you're going to be held twice as accountable. And I am fully aware that when I do my teachings, I always ask my guides and angels and God to lead me, and Jesus to lead me to the right verse. And I am aware that I have to be held twice as accountable. So, language, communication, be mindful of what you're saying. And then if you notice that you're being triggered or the other person is being triggered, don't take it personally. Take a step back. If it's you, ask yourself, why am I being triggered? Why does this communication bother me? And then ask yourself, are you willing to, and is the other party willing to be adult enough to communicate further to rectify the situation? Because it says literally, the last verse, now the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. So if you're in a communication with someone who doesn't want to make peace with you and is not listening to you and feels like they're not being heard, you're really having two rams butt heads and nobody's winning there, right? Make peace. Come to the communication with peace. And then the fruits of righteousness will be shown in peace by those who make peace. So, I'm sending you love and light. Watch your tongue. It says so. Watch your tongue. It could be used to bless our God, or it could be used to curse our neighbor. Don't do that. It says that. It ought not be this way. Okay? So be mindful with your language and communication. And the more awakened that we become, and as we're sending, the more accountable you are, especially if you are a teacher. Be more accountable. Hold yourself twice as firmly into integrity and strength as would otherwise. It's very important, because if you walk this path, you better be real with yourself, and you better be real and be able to see all the ugly pieces in yourself that you need to heal. So use your tongue wisely. Use those powers for good, not evil. As it is above, is below, guys. Again, that was James 3, 3, not 2, 3, 1 through 18. Love and light. Bye-bye, guys. I'll see you soon.